In this episode, Golden and I discuss the new Pixar animated film Onward. Full speed ahead. Welcome to the Omega Beam number 69. I'm your host, Oren Merton. And have you even heard of the film Onward? It's the new original Pixar movie set in a fantasy setting, and you might not have heard of it because it's not a sequel, so it doesn't have that kind of built-in excitement and fan base and all the other stuff, but it looked interesting to us, and we decided it was worth a shot. So this episode has, let's call it medium spoilers, because it's a little bit more than you'd get in the trailer, but not too much more. So we don't give away the film or anything, but if you don't want to know anything, keep that in mind. All right, so with that said, let's get to it. Let's talk about Onward.
Okay, on we go.
So I have to admit, when I first saw the original trailer for this, maybe a year ago, maybe more than a year ago.
I don't think it was that long ago.
However long ago it was, I think it was before a movie, and it was very short. And it was just sort of trolly and elfy looking things.
It looked beautiful.
It was beautiful, but it didn't look like it had that much of a story.
I know, you weren't too excited about it at first.
No, I was not very excited about it. And then I started hearing that, no, it has a lot of heart, and it's got feels, and it's supposed to be funny. And I said, okay, it's Pixar. It looks interesting. Let's go see it.
And for those of you that are not familiar with the movie, reading this off of IMDb, set in a suburban fantasy world, two teenage elf brothers embark on a quest to discover if there is still magic out there.
That is a decent summary, but it skips most of it.
I think really it is, it is a quest, but it's not necessarily to discover if there's still magic out there. They already know that there's magic at that point.
It's a quest for Dad.
It's a quest for family. So
there's going to be spoilers. When we saw an interview with the two main voice actors, Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, they were talking about how the creator of the film, who lost his father when he was very young and only sort of got to know his father from audio recordings, that he wrote this as kind of a present to his brother. And his brother, of course, loved it and was, deeply moved and everything else. And so I knew that there was a real emotion behind it, that this was going to be deeper than just we have a theme and we're going to be amusing about it for 90 minutes or whatever. I have to say, it really moved me. I mean, I was moved by it. And I thought that the story, we'll talk about the visuals in a moment, but just the story and how the plot unfolded was, I thought, done very well and very organically, and it did move me. And of course, it had the humor and everything you expect from a Pixar movie.
It had humor, it had drama, it was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous.
It was highly entertaining. It moved at a pretty brisk pace throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And there were parts that slowed down, but they slowed down to draw attention to the scene and let the scene settle and have depth.
Yeah, definitely. And I always like it when stories go in directions I'm not expecting. Most of this, I don't think, went too far out of what you would expect. But I personally was surprised by the ending. I did not expect it. I'm not going to give it away. I did not expect it. I expected it to be a little bit more wrapped up with a bow type of thing than you expect to see.
You have the two brothers, Barley, and then the younger one, Ian. And Ian's never gotten a chance to spend time with his dad.
Right.
He's never known his dad. And the entire movie is him searching for that experience of being with his father.
Right.
That is essentially the quest.
Right. That's why I said at the beginning, quest for dad. And you sort of expect everything to unfold in that, Saturday afternoon special, all smiles way, but it's not all smiles. And so I give the writers, there were multiple writers. I give the writers credit for still giving you a completely satisfying movie that leaves you out of the theater, feeling good about the film, but not the way you thought you would. And that's not easy these days, because I think a lot of times movies go out of their way to give you exactly what they think you want, the way you think you want it, to kind of be safe.
The characters were wonderful, and I don't think that... I sat there in the movie thinking, I know that's Tom Holland, but it's not taking it away. It's not taking me out of the movie, because it's still far enough away from his regular speaking voice that it just belongs to this character. Same thing with Chris Pratt.
Didn't feel like Star-Lord and Peter Parker on a road trip?
No. I don't really feel like it felt like that at all.
No, it didn't. Yeah, I recognized the names of the main cast, the rest of the main cast, when I saw the credits roll, but I did not recognize that it was... what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes.
I didn't recognize them in the moment. I just saw the names when I went by and went, oh, that's who it was.
And then there's something to be said for that, because you're with the character then instead of necessarily just the voice actor or actress. The one that struck me right away was Wilmer Valderrama. That one. Oh, all of a sudden he starts talking and I get an image of his face in my head. No, it was extremely enjoyable. I think that is definitely one that if you like, especially if you like D&D too. And they did get special permission from Wizards of the Coast to use both the Beholder and the Gelatinous Cube.
Yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. Definitely another Pixar winner. I'm sorry to say, I guess if you live in the Middle East, you won't be seeing it unless you live in Israel. I had read before the movie came out that some people were particularly upset that I guess the first openly gay Pixar character was in this movie. And I have to tell you, I saw the movie, I missed any character being gay at all. So I thought, oh, this was maybe people who never saw the movie or didn't know the movie just immediately complaining for some reason, but it ultimately wasn't there. And then you read that, no, it really was. I just missed the line.
I heard the line in the movie, and it sunk in the movie, and then it really wasn't that important that that's what it was to me. So
one specific character talks about a same-sex relationship that...
her girlfriend's daughter.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it does count as the first gay character, but you're literally talking about a single line and a side character, and it blows my mind that some nations are so deeply offended by this, they're not letting the movie play in their country.
According to this article I'm looking at, it says Deadline is reporting that Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia.
Crazy.
But it's still being shown in Bahrain, Lebanon, and Egypt. And I think there was something about in Russia they changed it from girlfriend to partner. So, you know what? It's just the way it is.
It's sad that these nations are so locked in the past and in prejudice that they can't even let a side comment go by that was so minor. Like I said, the movie went by and I missed it completely.
For the most part, really enjoyed all of the characters.
Yeah.
Even the van, Guinevere.
That's right. The van is a character.
However, the one character that just kind of seemed out of place for me was Mom's boyfriend, partner at this point, the Colt Bronco character. And I think the character itself was necessary. It was just for me a very awkward character.
At one point, they did call the mother's children his stepson. I don't know if they were married or whatever, but it must be pretty serious if like his coworkers are calling her kids his stepson.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression he was living there with how much stuff he was knocking around the house.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, he, as I said when we walked out of the theater, I understand why you think the character was necessary to like add an element that they didn't accept in their lives and stuff. I honestly do not think the character was necessary at all. I think it would have been the same movie if that character was not there whatsoever. But, he was fine. He was a little bit of comic relief, not a major thing. Certainly didn't ruin the movie for me. It's a really good film, but
And I liked that Barley Lightfoot was so into D&D and keeping, because their D&D is literally their history. It's the history of their world.
right, to
And
them.
everyone else is like, whatever. But he sees it as, this is the history, and we need to keep our history alive. And I do very much like how they explained why, when there is magic, that people decided to use cars and light bulbs and stoves and ovens and things like that. That was really well done. Quest of Yore.
Is that what it's
That's
called?
very appropriate. Quest of Yore. Quest of Yesterday. And if you, there's a lot of detail on his brother's vest. There's a lot of, druid patches and things like that. And,
I think they were supposed to be...
and the phoenix on the back.
I think a lot of them were supposed to be mock heavy metal bands.
Maybe.
I think that's what he was supposed to be, like a metal kid.
Very enjoyable. And honestly, I look forward to seeing it again sometime.
Thank you, Golden.
You're welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/69. If you liked this episode, please leave a review in the Apple Podcasts app or wherever you listen to podcasts. These reviews help the people who like this kind of thing find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.